Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of the Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there's John Fairbanks. How you doing, John?
Hello, Tyler.
Guys, this week we're going to talk some shit about some popular treatments that are going on, hormone treatments, weight loss drugs, all this stuff, what this means in the changing landscape of fitness, really health, medicine. I think there's a lot of trends that are shaping up to be quite interesting. And I think that the landscape is changing. It's changing quickly. And I think we're going to deliver some good information to help you understand what's really going on here. Before we get started, join the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. Link is in the description. Make sure you follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. You can follow me at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFFIN Stone. And John?
And you can follow me on Instagram at JBanksFL.
Guys, medicine has become crazy as far as like weight loss drugs, hormone therapy, boner pills, right? All of these things, once they're reduced down to I think once they become mainstream enough to where enough people know about them, enough people have taken them, like you used to have to go to a doctor and look a man in the eye, probably like the guy who like gave birth to your kids or whatever, you know what I mean? The person who like gives your kids their checkups every year and gives your kids the flu shot. The person you got to tell no to the COVID vaccine because you're not a fucking moron. Like, but that guy, you got to be in there and you got to be like, yo, bro, my dick doesn't work. What are we going to do? And like, I think that is kind of interesting that once they say your Viagra, Cialis, once those, is it patents or whatever? Like once they basically were no longer able to be proprietary and anybody could take the active ingredients out of those and make their own medications. That now, obviously, there's still prescription. You have to be prescribed. Now, all of the people I know who are on any of that medication, they're going through like telemedicine. It's just online marketing. It does really well. They run bunches of ads. They got ads on social media. They got really tight funnels and email lists and everything. And all of a sudden, everyone I know is getting these pills from Blue Chew or Hims or whatever else is out there for this stuff. And personally, I think once the product is in a position to where you know it works and the dosage stuff is pretty standardized, I'm A-okay with this. I don't know about you, John. Like, I have no problem. I would much rather call in, pay it, not have to pay for the visit either, too. Like, not have to go in and sit in a lobby to call in and get some, like, you know, wild weekend juicy pills or whatever. That seems like something that would make sense to me.
Well, I think it seems to be very consumer centric, which nothing else appears to. Like, it's the old school stuff is like you have these the sage, the sage person, this person that's smarter than you, white coat, whatever it is. It's super complicated to now get an appointment, do all those things. I can't tell you how many times, like even the most fundamental piece where like one of our kids gets sick. It's like, it's strep throat. I know it's strep throat. Like, I know this is what I just need this to be like, I just need this to be prescribed, or I need we're having terrible nausea. We need Zofran so that they can get through the next couple of days or whatever it is. And there's such a racket where there's so many of us in the back of our minds. We're like, they're just after the copay.
Yep.
They just want us to come in so they can collect the $50.
Yeah. You know, one of the benefits, at least from, you know, where we're at here, is small town stuff. Is even growing up for me, it's like you could, if you knew the people, I could call in and I could talk to the PA, like, hey, like, I'm sick, just have a cough. And she would just call in a prescription for us without having to get a visit very often. But that requires you to like have grown up with their kids. You know what I mean? Like they got to know. And also, like, is drug seeking behavior really like fucking like get a Z-Pack, please? Right. You know, that's just not that. We're not that worried. So I think outside of like, obviously like narcotic stuff, trauma, I'm all about this stuff moving away from doctors and more into people that actually specialize on this type of treatment. Because this is the thing I see a ton with, a huge problem is with hormone therapy, with like TRT. Finally, now there's these online clinics that are opening up where you're going to go through, they'll send you the stuff, you send in blood work, give them your symptoms, they'll prescribe you TRT, and they're giving you actual products that you would use that make fucking sense for taking testosterone. And they actually are telling you what's going on. The biggest racket, in my opinion, in regards to testosterone replacement therapy is the fucking pellets. Every place that I go to, or every like person around here that I hear about who gets on testosterone replacement therapy, they get the fucking pellet injections. Why? Well, because it's about 20 to 30 times more expensive than just actually taking just testosterone. Why do we need some novel, cute, really complicated compared to just simple weekly injections that you do yourself and way more expensive products? Why do we need to go into the doctor? Obviously, you should be getting blood work and shit done. Obviously, you should be like getting checked as you go. But how fucking risky is it when you're having a 3 to 4 month run once these things are put in? Like, the levels are not consistent. They're not consistent over that amount of time. If you need changes to make, if you have changes to make to your dosage, you're not going to notice it then for another 3 to 4 months
Mm-hmm.
when they put it in the next time and they make changes. Like, it's not only is it not as good of a product, it's fucking stupid. It's like way more reckless. It's purely a money grab. That's
Right.
that's all I can think of in this is like, this is a money grab. This is not what's best for the client. This is more complicated, or for the patient. I'm sorry. This is not what's best for the patient. This is way more complicated than it needs to be. And you could simply have somebody send them home with a fucking vial and a package of fucking syringes and go, here, pop this one in your cheek, show them how to do it. You can do this once a week. Here's how it's done. John, testosterone replacement therapy should not cost you, even if you're getting it prescribed, more than like 30 to 50 bucks a month, tops.
It's $10 a vial, like $10 for 4.
Yeah, it's just
Like
crazy.
it's just, yeah, it's just not that expensive.
It's borderline criminal, in my opinion, like telling somebody who needs testosterone therapy that they should get this fucking wacky pellet injection stuff instead. It's fucking dumb. And I honestly believe the reason is what they're selling there is not a better testosterone product, not a better or more like consistent product at all, not better for your health than the other. What it is allows you to go, oh, I don't want to mess with needles every week myself. It's like, okay, I get that. But I've always told people that want to take like oral steroids and shit over the long term too. People like, I'll just rather take Dianabol. I don't want to be poking myself with any needles. I'm scared of needles. Like, well, when it comes to testosterone replacement therapy, if you're not man enough to put a needle in your butt cheek once or twice a week, then you're literally not man enough to be making the real decisions about your health and the risks with this, because like that is the lowest risk, safest, most easy to adjust way in regards to your dosing, to your blood work, everything. That is the best way to administer testosterone replacement therapy. And I'll fucking die on that hill. Okay. But I've overheard guys trying to have this conversation like, well, I'd just rather just give me like something else. I'll just take Anavar or something instead. I was like, oh, so you're just going to shred your fucking liver? Like you're making the decision because you're scared of poking yourself that you're going to absolutely destroy your liver and your long-term health for this thing. As soon as somebody gives me their aversion to testosterone replacement therapy via injection and wants to go some other route, I know they're making the decision based on all the wrong things. And I know that they should not be taking testosterone because they don't even understand then what happens when you start taking it. Speaking of the pellet therapy, if you underdose somebody and they're just not quite getting enough to like really feel it be impactful, or you're just kind of barely getting them across into a healthy range and they don't feel much better, a lot of guys will take this therapy for 3 months, maybe double dip for maybe go for 6 months, right? That's 3 to 6 months of shutting your shit down, completely shutting down. Like your balls will start to atrophy. They will stop producing. And I have never heard a single one of these people who goes through a post-cycle therapy after that to try to actually kickstart themselves back up. What they do is they take this product. It kind of doesn't really work how they wanted to. And then they stop taking it. And then a little bit later, a year or two later, they go, oh shit, like I don't feel great. And then I say, well, how's your T looking? I had it tested, it was low, but I did those pellets and it didn't seem to work that much, so I stopped. It's like, well, now you're worse than you were when you started. That's the biggest thing with this stuff is like, if you take it and you're an old guy like myself, like you, once you get on TRT, someone should have this conversation with you that if you stop, you will be worse off than you are right now before we start. Therefore, this is kind of a lifetime treatment. This isn't your 1 aspirin a day for your heart or whatever. But it's not explained. There's no post cycle being ran. And it's a shame because I do believe testosterone therapy is a good product. I think it's great. I think it really changes men's life, mental health, all of this stuff, especially later in life. Like you do not need to go gently into that good night. But the way these in-person doctors here are just trying to capitalize on this treatment, they want to sell the service, and they want to sell, you don't poke yourself, we'll give you this crazy product that you couldn't even imagine putting in yourself. So this way we have to do it, and we're the experts, and that's why it's expensive. And people turn to that, and it fucking does not do what they said it was going to do, and it's just way, way, way more complicated than it needs to be.
And I would even take it another step further, where it is the doctor themselves don't actually know.
They don't know. That's the reality too.
You know what I mean?
They got sold by a rep who's like, perfect, here's this product. Here's how you administer. Here's the dose. And then maybe they'll pull blood work, but I bet not that consistently. Nobody I know, everyone who does this, I start asking about their blood work and what they got, or did they have any understanding of what was going on? And no, like nobody was really getting long-term blood work after the fact. Most people I know who've done the pellets did it for, like I said, 3 to 6 months and then stopped. So just crash your body's ability to normally produce T at an age with which you will not kickstart. That motor is not starting up again on its own. Give them nothing to mitigate that damage. And then they just go, oh, this doesn't work. So now it's going to be worse. Now I'm getting fatter. Now my hormone profile is even fucking worse.
So here, I'm going to tell my story.
Yeah.
And how you helped me, right? So the medication that I take, because I am blessed with terrible blood pressure, like the best shape of my life that I've been in, like I'm in the best shape now that I ever have been ever in the history. Even when I played college football, I'm in way better health, way stronger, way everything. But because of my blood pressure, it's always been high. So they put me, and I have crazy just family background of blood pressure, dying of heart attacks, all these things is way. So the doctor that I have has treated multiple members of my family. And he's like, we have to put you now, you're young. Let's put you on a more aggressive pill because you will never come off this. This is not, hey, if you lose some weight, you won't have to take your blood pressure medication anymore. It's like, this is you forever because everything else about your genes are good. But for whatever reason, your veins are fucking too tight, whatever it's going to be, your blood pressure is too high. So I take this medicine, which had totally fucked my testosterone and all these other things, right? So I go to my primary care doctors. My cardiologist is doing those things. So I go to my primary care and say, hey, I want to be able to fix my testosterone because it's being tanked by this. And it was okay. And there's lots of conversations about abuse of testosterone. Like that's what we start with, right? So we start at that moment, and I'm like, listen, I'm not looking to get testosterone so that I can do steroids. I'm looking to do it so I can get into a healthy baseline to get everything fucking functional again.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is the doctor's plan. The doctor's plan was, we're going to start you where you'll go once a week, you'll inject, and at least we went right to injections. So we didn't go anything else. That's where we went. So we're going to do injections. You're going to go once a week for 4 weeks. Then in month 2, you're going to go once every 2 weeks. And then in month 3, we'll just go once a month. And that was the plan.
How insane.
So when I took that plan, I said, hey, Tyler, hey, Dr. Stone, hey, this is the plan. This feels off. And it feels off based off of what I researched on steroids are us when I looked up like what's the TRT that I'm going to be taking. And then all of these old heads that are on the bodybuilding fucking forums are explaining, and it doesn't track. And so then I asked you, and you're like, you will fuck yourself up so bad if you do what this doctor's told you to do.
And the issue is, John, is I get what a doctor who doesn't know anything about this does, which means that doctor's coming in, writing prescriptions for kids that got colds, and maybe sending you off if you need an x-ray, and checking your blood pressure and having their nurses weigh you, and they come in and talk to you for 10 seconds once a year. That's that doctor's job at that point. And I get it. Like, I'm not an endocrinologist. I don't really know. They just don't want to fuck with it. But the problem is they are treating that like it is a short-term treatment. And the biggest thing is testosterone replacement therapy is not a one in and one out situation. It is an ongoing therapy, much like if you're going to start taking, listen, if you're going to start taking like antidepressants or SSRIs, shit like this, like guess what? The solution is if you get on these, you stay on these forever, because walking it back is a big fucking problem. And so the fact, once you get involved in TRT, like my stance on it is it's a lifetime commitment if you're going to do it. It's just that's the reality. So be real. So which means I tell a lot of guys to look into it, but I am saying this to you and to everyone listening. Like this is It's a lifetime commitment. So the gravity of that is why I think you should fucking inform yourself and do it right. So you don't mess yourself up worse. And I think that is what they would have done to you, John. Here's how this would have gone. Yeah, I told you this, Tim. I'm going to tell the people here is you would have felt a little bit better after about 2 weeks. You'd be like, oh, cool. Nice. I do have more testosterone. It says I feel better, start to sleep a little better. It takes a few weeks for these results to kind of like, for you to start to feel them anyways when you just start TRT. And then they would have walked down the dose and walked it down again. But during that entire time, none of this is to kickstart your body's ability to do it. We're not filling a short-term gap. We have a lifetime lowering of testosterone, which happens as we age. We get beyond a certain age and we're already below a certain point. Guess what your body does? It says, I need you to stop looking so jacked. You've been around long enough. You better have your money and your family stuff in order. If you're trying to look jacked, you're trying to hook up with chicks, like we need you to fucking, like you cannot be horny, jacked, accomplished, known in your, you know what I mean? You can't have all of those things from an evolutionary perspective. We're supposed to cash in on all our youth early on and make families and breed and procreate. That is just, I think, the way that our bodies are designed to work. And beyond a certain age, it goes, hey, let's shut this motherfucker down. He's done. He's overstayed his welcome. Let's make sure he gets ugly. Let's fucking get him fat, stupid, useless. Let's make sure his dick doesn't work. Let's keep him out of the gene pool now. He had his shot. It's time for the young pups to take over. Now, because in modern medicine, I don't believe that you have to go gently into that good night, especially because I believe the long-term effects above a certain age of having low testosterone way dramatically outweigh the negative effects of taking TRT. So what they would have done is they treated this like a short-term solution. But during that window in which you're taking exogenous testosterone, your body just is going to check on its own levels and it goes, no, we're good. We're flush. This cup is full. I don't need to produce any. And once your body gets in that above a certain age, starts to produce less or none, it doesn't come back on. There's no signal for it to come back on. There is none. So by weaning you off of it, all they're going to do is make it worse for you. And you will be worse off at the end than you were in the beginning. For what? So once I heard that, so you got to find a new doctor. And you did. And you went in and told them exactly what you thought you needed to do.
Right.
And they didn't even know then.
No, but at least that doctor at that point, I don't go to a standard, a normal primary care. At least I came in and said, hey, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. This is what I'm going to do, but I'll continue to do the blood work, but this is what I'm going to do. And she just said, oh, okay. To be honest, I really don't know a lot about this. So we're kind of do this together. So at least she said that though. But here's what's crazy. If I don't, and this is where I really appreciate you calling out the idea of like, you need to be informed as the consumer. And this is the important part as we're talking about the online doctors and now putting the power back into the hands of the client, of the patient, of the consumer, is that now that due diligence on some of these things, they must live with you. And for those of you that are listening that are coaches and owners and personal trainers, it's you do not get to say that steroids are bad, TRT is steroids, and everyone that does it are a bunch of fucking loser meatheads. Like you don't get to just live in that world because that's not what's real. Like you have to now be informed. You have to to give that help. And it may be overstepping, but what I'm telling you is that the people that are supposed to know don't know. And we all know this to be true when it comes to nutrition. Holy shit. Have a primary care physician start talking to you. One, if they even talk to you about what you're eating, but they know fuck all when it comes to nutrition.
My wife and I both coach medical professionals, a handful of them. And I've coached many over the years. And there are no people who, like, there's no group of people that are less informed or more informed than they are about nutrition. They all make all the same mistakes. They all have the same preconceived notions. They all have the same fucking bad habits. Try to explain everything. They just don't know any more than you or I do really about how they should eat. Or really, like, I know plenty of doctors that got 50 pounds to lose. Guess what? Not making any changes that are getting them there. You know what I mean? That they're not making the dietary changes to do it. So there's also the gap in their case, also just between the gap between knowing and doing as well. It's like, even if they knew, they don't have the ability to actually execute this. Good nutrition, I view as a fucking medical treatment, frankly. Like, here is the plan. You're going to follow this. These are the things that we are going to put in your body to make it better and improve. And this is a system that has to be done for the long term. There's a lot of medical professionals that are completely ill-equipped to guide someone through any of that process either. And I think being informed as a consumer when you get into a medical situation I was in before, because I had basically got like just like borderline extorted for like my CPAP machine at one point, where I was like,
Oh,
I had to pay, like, I went in for the thing, I had the visit, I paid for the visit, paid for the overnight thing, did all this stuff. I had health insurance, but like then I go and I get fitted for the machine and they set it all up for me and I have that thing and then they send it home with me and I pay like $500 a month and I get the next bill. It's another five. They were like, yeah, you got to make a few payments. I was like, okay, sign this stuff. You're a doctor. You know what I mean?
right.
Oh, you need this, you need this. You're like, okay, I guess. And I go through it all. And then I see when I'm like, well, wait a minute. I call them up one time. I was like, I keep getting these bills and this doesn't make sense. Says, oh no, you got to pay this every month. I said, but how come the first 2 months were like $750? Well, that all goes straight to your deductible or straight out of pocket. Your first 2 months of the year come straight out of pocket. Okay. And then your medicine will cover, or whatever, your health insurance covers a portion of it. All right. Well, that sucks. How many of these payments do I have? Because I keep making these $500 payments now after these first two. Oh, we'd have to do 14 of them. Why?
What?
So what happens when I cross over the year? Oh, well, then those two are out of pocket, fully out of pocket as well, because that's how it works. Oh. So this whole thing about you have to rent. Yeah, I can't just, I said, can I just buy this right now? Can I buy out this thing? I literally called them to pay with my debit card. I had the money. I was like, listen, whatever this is, like, I'm sick of getting bills and needing to pay them. This is fucking stupid. Like, let's just get this done. No, we can't do that. And the reason is because it's back and forth between the insurance racket and it's I'm in that hospital's insurance and going to that hospital and getting equipment from that hospital's branded equipment place. So they're just kicking all this fake money back and forth, just ripping people off. So I tried to pay at that point after spending like already $2,000 or $3,000. And then I realized like the whole thing was going to be another like $4,000. So I looked this machine up and I can buy it on Amazon for like $1,500. And I was like, oh, fuck you guys. So I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I said, I got a fucking like 800 credit score. So because I called and went to pay this, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pay this.
Right.
You can send all the letters you want, but I'm not going to pay this until somebody forces me to. You can go fuck yourself. See you later. And I hung up because I was like, fuck you, man. I came to do this right. Now I played hardball. So they ended up fucking after like 2 years later, I get a summons. I got to go to court for it. I was like, okay, I'll go. So I told the judge the whole thing and the judge goes, listen, I know it's terrible. I know this whole thing seems like a racket and it probably is. He said, the problem is, this is the takeaway that you guys need to inform your clients about and that you need to take personally when it comes to any medical situation you're in. Is the judge goes, the reality is we think it is a doctor-patient situation. We think it is a caretaker versus the receiver of the care situation. And it is not. It is transactional and it is contractual and it is binding. And this is a consumer situation. This is a consumer, a business to a consumer. That's all this is. So in reality, you cannot just expect to go to the doctor and have them give you something that's not going to be a total ripoff. You can't, because there's plenty of products on the shelves at the store that suck and are overpriced and are no good. And there's better alternatives there. And you'd think that the doctor would have whatever the medical equivalent of a fiduciary responsibility to like inform you that maybe there's better options for your money, but that they're not required to do that. They're just required to get you into something that'll help. And if this checks the box as treatment for this thing, then that's absolutely what they do. So ever since I heard that, I was like, okay, that actually makes the most sense. And that's what I see about this shit with like TRT pellets and that type of stuff, is that's all this really is. That doctor's not looking out for your best interest at all. Any doctor who's telling you like, you should get pellets, say, then why would I use pellets instead of just a vial of testosterone enanthate or testosterone cypionate, like propionate? Why would I bother with anything other than just doing a weekly injection on my own at home? And all they'll say is, well, you're going to be scared of poking yourself in the butt cheek. That's very likely what the whole thing is, because there's no way they can tell you that it's better or more consistent, faster acting, or even like gives you options as far as like mitigating your dose up or down, or being consistent over the course of a week, a month, or a year. You're constantly going into peaks and valleys with that product. And if they tell you otherwise, they're fucking lying to you. So I'm not over here trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you on buying vials. I got no skin in this game at all, but I'm telling you, any doctor who tells you that, they're kind of a fucking crook, and you need to be more informed. So do not let a doctor who's telling you to do pellets or telling your clients to do pellets, don't let that be the end of the information that they give you. Don't let that be all the information that you get, because it's a huge, huge mistake.
And the reality is, what we know to be true is that as a client, if you're a patient of a doctor, when a doctor says a thing, it's like, well, they're the doctor.
Yeah.
So I believe what they're saying. And it just is it that again is like being able to be responsible and knowing what your own care needs to be. And again, it is your job as a professional to know the things, but man, you got to be able to be humble enough to say, "Hey, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'll go figure this out. Like I'll figure it out for you, and then I can give you a more informed decision from my perspective." Because I've had people do that with me. They'll say, "Hey, have you heard about this supplement before?" I said, "No," because there's a bajillion. I
Yeah.
haven't. No, I've never heard of that.
I'm
And
not
I said, "What
interested
are they?"
really in any of them.
But I'm like, tell me what it is. Like, tell me what it is on like just fundamentally. He's like,
Yeah.
well, it allows you to like gain muscle while you're cutting weight. And they have all these studies that show that you can put on a lot more muscle even while you're cutting. And it's just a thing that you can. I'm like, well, I said, I don't know anything about this. I said, I'll be happy to look into it more. I said, but as a base principle, anything that claims to allow you to gain muscle while radically cutting weight and cutting fat is a lie.
Yeah.
Like,
And
but
realistically, like, even if there is some sort of statistical chance that that came out in a study, it's a level of margin that is just not even worth considering. It's fucking insane.
but you have to be able to say, hey,
That's
yes, I
fair.
don't know, but I can give you my educated opinion on X thing. But you have to allow not to allow your position of power in that scenario to then trump all, because that's where a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, oh, well, this is the diet you need to eat. It's like, well, do you actually know anything about it? Because people really, especially the elderly, because I have elderly parents and elderly in-laws, and it's if a doctor says anything, that is gospel.
Yeah.
We don't question any. Oh well, no, the doctor says.
I
Yeah,
have
that's
I have a grandpa who's in his 90s, so he's up there, and now he's developed some little bit of diabetes, right? So he's been having to lose weight for last year, a little bit of the betas, and he's gotten to the point now where like there's, he has to take some like water pills to keep water retention down. And he's like really watches his sodium intake, which I'm still like, what are you talking about? But I guess he's mostly sedentary, so fine. I guess between whatever the reasons are that they think that's why you're bloating, I'm fine with it. But my wife was brought over some sourdough bread for him, and he was like, well, how much salt does she put in this? Because I have to like test, to see if I'm getting bloated or whatever like that with this. And so they're worried about my salt intake. Salt, 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 salt. If this is too much salt, my water retention is high. And then blah. And I said, listen, Grandpa, I think that's great, but I'm pretty sure you have diabetes, and it's probably the carbs that are going to bloat you up a lot more than any salt that's in this bread. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you're gonna eat a whole bunch of fucking bread, and your concern is the salt in that bread in regards to water retention. Like, none of this information made its way out of the doctor's office into his head. Right. And I think that it's really important to advocate for yourself and to be, I'm not saying be argumentative, but you should know what you want and put the doctor in a position to defend why they want things done a particular way. Here's how I handle low testosterone in clients. I prefer coaching, like most of my clients are aging men who got weight to lose, dads, fathers, professionals, people who've been around long enough to have some fucking money, right? And to have a need to lose some weight, and also have like a reason to do it because they have a family. That's important. That's probably like 2/3 of my client base, 3/4 of it, in person and remote. And I address it pretty clearly. It's like, if you're having libido issues, you're having erection problems, or you simply like feel like you're struggling and lethargic and slow, yes, good nutrition will help. And I'm always about that you can eat well in a way that'll boost your testosterone, yada, yada, yada. You're in your late 50s and you've had low testosterone for a long time. I'll get you start eating well, and we'll do what we can, but let's not pretend like that things are not what they are. So I never tell a person they should take testosterone therapy. What I tell everybody who is explaining to me symptoms that sound like low T is you should go get your T checked.
Mhm.
Just go get it checked. If you're above 40, go get your testosterone checked. Don't be fucking stupid here, right? Go get it checked. And if it's low, my answer is you should probably fix it. That's where I start. And then from there, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not telling people how much to take. I think all supplements should be taken in response to a need first. Therefore, you have the need. You've proven that you have low testosterone. You have blood work that says it. then you're going to take it. Then you need to monitor it with blood work. Now, once we get to that point, if someone says to me, my doctor wants to stick fucking pellets in me, I said, well, find a different fucking doctor, or tell them that you want to do it like literally the cleanest, healthiest, and most affordable way, because these pellets are not it. It's fucking stupid. It's not that they're not testosterone, and it's not that they won't work. It's that they're just dumb and so much more expensive and so much more complicated than it needs to be. This is actually pretty simple, and they can still run the same blood work. So it's all fine. All they got to do is not give you something that's $600 to $900, and you can just have something that's $30. It'll do the exact same thing better, and you're not having to go into the doctor all the fucking time. Like, you could, they're only defending their own pocketbook if they're explaining you that product over the traditional way. And I'll be honest with you, more guys I know have been taking fucking true steroids and testosterone and TRT for a whole lot longer than medical driven TRT has been around. So don't pretend like these bros who've been lifting, been taking steroids for a long time, like they don't know anything. There's a lot of idiots out there, and they're not the ones you should be turning to for advice. But there is a lot of goddamn information that's out there that your doctor's not even fucking considering. If they're giving you pellets, they ain't even considering you, what's easiest for you, or what's best for you. Not at all.
And I think it comes back to that that product concept where it's just pushing that product.
Yeah.
Because there's also, not
a lot of money to be made, John, on like one visit, some blood work every quarter. And right. They're not getting money off of a $25 my vials are bigger than yours, like a $25, $30 a month fucking vial. Like they're just that's not producing a shit ton of money for them forever. But you can come back in and spend $700 in 90 days.
Yep. And I think this is also a piece where it's either, you can take it either way, however you want to view a medical professional, where you view them as they are negligent and devious in nature, where they're just peddling whatever the product is, or they're completely oblivious. Either way, the end result's the same. But here's the biggest problem that I find, and this is one of the things where if you're not informed and you are using you're using your God-given American right to have full control over your choice as a consumer, and now you're using these online doctors.
Yep.
The issue is that the online doctor knows what's up. They know the deal. They are just going to check the boxes that are necessary and to help you get what you're here to get. The problem that is obvious, and I'm going to use the example from a conversation I had just recently, but is a dude's neighbor is on Ozempic, right? Taking the shot, has had a ton of success, been on the shot for like 3-4 months. She's lost 50 pounds, right? But she's just talking to this doctor so she can keep getting more shots.
What's current body weight now, though? That's important with this. Lost 50 pounds, but now weighs.
So now she weighs 135 pounds.
So we're running out of weights to lose. That's what I'm saying. This isn't a 400-pound person who's down to 350.
No, this is true. So this was a 185-pound person who then lost 50 pounds and is now 135. And a friend of mine talking with the neighbor says, oh, well, hey, you're losing the weight. I know you were on the shot. You're doing this, that, and the other. And how's that all going? She goes, it's great. I just got off. I actually just had an appointment with my doctor, and he re-upped me for another 12 months of shots. And it's like, he goes, what's your goal? Like, you've already lost 50 pounds. You're 135 pounds. He's telling me, he's like, John, there's not a lot more weight to go. And she's now going to take this shot every single week for another year. And this is now we're getting into the point where it's like, there should be someone that's in this woman's life being like, hey, this seems like this might be predatory.
Yeah.
Now you're being sold. You're being oversold. Well, I'd be willing to fucking guarantee, well, we can sell you a month of shots, but it costs this.
Yeah.
But if you buy 12 months of shots, it lowers the price. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I'll just do that. And it's now we're so transactional, and there's no one's helping this lady, where it's like, I don't know if this is good or not.
Well, and I think if you look at things like ED pills and shit like that, right? Like your Hims, your Blue Chew, whatever else is out there, like at least now we know so much about them, and it's not a long-term commitment. It's a thing that you just take sometimes.
Sure.
So like, I don't have a problem with that being commoditized in that way, because we have enough of an understanding about this. I do think with weight loss pills, I'm all about, or weight loss drugs like this, like I'm all about that. If you don't want to talk to your doctor about it, you don't want, listen, the person you're getting it prescribed from is a doctor too. You're just going to call them up and they're going to do it for you. They know what you're there to do it. You're not going in trying to trick them. But the issue is they don't have any incentive to give a shit about you either. So you kind of start running into the situation where maybe there's not a better alternative that they should talk you into, right? I'm all about, like I said about the TRT, right? If someone comes with pellets, I just love for the doctor to be like, but there's a much cheaper, safer, better way. You're scared of needles? Fine. I'll just put big ones in you fucking quarterly. But like, you know, if that's the thing you want to do, that's the gap. But when it comes to things like Ozempic and these weight loss drugs, that's the hang up is like, how do we get off of this? And are you going to learn anything about this process, or are we just forcing you to not be hungry? And so the dilemma is, like all things, get into them with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. And I don't know that is being discussed to anybody. Clients I have that are taking it, like nobody's ever explained to them what happens when they stop. What is going to happen?
Happens when they're actually taking it, and why they're losing the
Or
weight.
don't stop, or take the dose way down, so then it's kind of manageable. Then if that's fine. If we're having an issue where you can take this at a very low dose forever, and that kind of covers your bases, and then fine. If that's but then they should know that. But this is wild when a person's, you know, lost essentially 40% of their body weight now, and there's just nothing left. And you get to that point where you're like, well, now what? You're just going to take this for another year. You're going to be 90 pounds. And then what? You've only done it based on the fact that you haven't actually had to win any of the discipline stuff. You haven't had to learn any of this stuff. Hopefully, maybe with just enough time of choosing not to eat or being unsatisfied with food, that maybe that imprints on you enough after a year and a half, maybe. But if you never actually learned how to win a day and you were just forced to, because you were essentially the food equivalent of being locked in a cage and slipped food through the door, you know what I mean? This is all you're going to be able to handle. That, like, I just don't know that when these people get off, that they have learned anything behaviorally that's going to help them win once they're off the medication, which is fine if you can be on the medication forever and it doesn't fuck you up. That's the thing I don't know. So, but I just think that this changed a lot. And that's, again, you guys take this conversation from it what you will. I do believe you should be talking to your clients about this, and don't be weird about it. Like, don't force it on people. First off, I wouldn't be pushing any of these things. I don't push TRT, but it's a conversation. If you're coaching men that are in their 40s and 50s, it's absolutely a conversation that you should be having. Like, how's this looking? You feel it's tough? Get that looked at. I'm not the one to tell you what to do. I'm telling you, go see if there's a problem. I had a client who was suddenly really run down and stuff, like really winded, like in a way that didn't make any sense, right? I'm no medical professional. I'm just a big fat dumb guy who fucking trains people, right? I just lift weights and don't have hair on my head, right? But I noticed something was wrong. I said, I think you should go to the doctor with this, because we thought he was sick for a couple of weeks. Maybe got a respiratory thing. What went on? Turns out, fucking dude had to have an entire new fucking heart valve put in again. He had an open heart surgery 5-6 years before. The valve had failed, and that's how we noticed it. And then it got way worse for a bit. But as soon as I'm not here to give medical advice when I'm coaching somebody, but if there's something, I'm like, you need to go get this looked at. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not the guy, but some things I think you should go deal with. Testosterone is one of those things. I don't want Ozempic conversations to be off the table when someone's talking to me. I would rather be able to tell them what I actually think about it, whatever my current level of information is about it. Like, here's what I think. I don't think it's terrible, but I think you need to be prepared to actually fix your relationship with food throughout this process, you know, or you need to start this with the end in mind. I think a lot of people don't. I think doctors aren't having these real conversations with people, unfortunately. Maybe they're just busy, John. Maybe they're just busy getting on to the next person. I don't know. And also, I think maybe they're too busy to learn. Let's be real, John. If you were a doctor, let's say you got out of medical school in the year 2004. You've been practicing medicine for 20 years. That's a respectable career, but you got a long ways to go. Do you know how prevalent just things like boner pills, testosterone therapy, like smoking cessation drugs that have came and went over the years, fucking these weight loss drugs, the illnesses that come and go, vaccinations that come and go. There's all of these products now that have been introduced, and these people aren't doing research. They're just out there working, and clients are coming to their office every day. That's pretty much it. Patients are in, patients are out. And so at some point, they're just like, somebody in their network, some pharmaceutical rep goes, yo, here's this. Here's just this. We'll tell you that it's good. And I think that's kind of the level of informed most of these doctors are about these things. They get told this is a product that checks this box and they'll administer it because we can make X on it.
It's not habit forming, Tyler.
It's not habit forming.
Here's the pain. Here's the pain. We already know. This was so crazy. We know what doctors are going to do. And this is the craziest thing. And we all look back when about 4 years ago and 2 months, something crazy happened.
Yeah.
Which was, and all the doctors all had the exact same opinion, minus a couple that we don't talk about. And it's like, but we all agreed that the bad guys were the pharmaceutical guys. And they told those doctors that it was non-habit forming. Now there's a new pain scale. And now there's whatever. They came up with brand new words, a brand new shit. And they had all these doctors out and everybody got hooked. Hook, line, and sinker got tricked. And we just towed that party line.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is that's where their information came from.
The opioid crisis people are whispering in the ears of these people and they're just taking their word for it on everything still. And I actually know some doctors now who have a bit of cynicism now about that system now, finally. They don't just trust whatever they're fucking told from the top down. And thank fucking God. And maybe that's a personality trait that if you go to medical school and you go to college, you have to excel in school at a young age. You have to be very thorough. You got to work very hard. You got to do it for a very long time. I feel like that's a recipe for conformists, which is fine. Those types of people were maybe not the type of people throwing middle fingers to somebody just because they told them what to do. Yeah. Don't fucking tell me what to do. I'm 16 years old. I'm a fucking college student. I'll crash my fucking car. I don't give a fuck. Those people like me don't end up going on to spending 10 years in fucking medical, 10 years in college to become a doctor. And I get that. But that is a trait that I think is carried with that long length of education and nose to the grindstone stuff is you are doing all of that so that you can kind of be indoctrinated into the system. You got a lot of information to learn. You don't get to doubt all of the information that's presented in front of you. That's complicated and takes a long time. People like me who doubt every single piece of information that's put in front of them since they were children. I never trusted a thing a fucking adult told me my entire goddamn life. Never. Okay, well, I'm not equipped to become a fucking doctor for that reason alone. But I think people that are serial trusters and do what they're told people just are not equipped. They are absolutely not equipped to be like questioning the information that they're told from sources that they have blindly decided to trust. It's a blind trust industry very often, I think, if you're going to spend that much fucking time in college. Now, a lot of them are hip to it now, and I think they're being better about it. And I've spoken to doctors who have legitimate regrets about the way that they handled promoting things and talking about things in 2020, 2021, 2022 as well, let alone the goddamn opiate shit. So it's changing, but you have to advocate for yourself. Don't expect anyone to do it for you. Guys, we got to get going. John's got a heart out. Thanks for listening. Follow the show at Gym Owners Podcast. Follow John at JBanksFL. Follow me at Tyler F. and Stone, Tyler EFF I am Stone. We'll see you next week.